Welcome back to the channel. So many of you have asked me to review Psychoff. To many, he's the absolute king of Betfair football trading. A legendary whale who posts massive green screens and supposedly reads football matches like a psychic. I decided to dig into him and I approached this from a completely neutral point of view. Is he a total fraud or is he a legitimate trading god? In our last video, I showed you exactly how easy it is to fake a P&L screenshot with just a few clicks. But I also told you the story about how I made 25,000 euros in pure profit during the 2006 World Cup without any football trading knowledge, just by having a TV broadcast that was a couple of seconds faster than the Betfair markets. Today, we are putting Psychoff under the microscope. And the truth I found, it's going to completely shatter the illusion of his £40,000 mentorship programs. Let's bust this open. To understand Psychoff, we have to go back to how he built his legend. Let's look at his old blog from 2009 via the Web machine. Now, recovering this wasn't straightforward. The main site actually wasn't backed up before he closed the blog down. If you look at the main URL, all you see is his final goodbye message. But I managed to uncover individual blog posts, not all of them, but enough to paint a very clear picture. Look at the content. It is absolute garbage. There is no betting wisdom, no market insights, no interesting stories. It's pure fluff designed to flaunt profits and attract easily impressed mugs. But here's where it gets interesting. Look at his P&L screenshots from 2009. Let's put them directly side by side with the 2006 World Cup screenshot I showed you in my last video. Look how remarkably similar they are. Relatively low single profits, but hardly any losses. Pure green across the board. Remember how I made that 25,000? I had zero football models. I just had a German analog TV that was faster than the Betfair markets. Fast pictures, latency arbitrage. You don't get a P&L like this by predicting the flow of a football match. You get it by knowing the outcome before the market does. Not necessarily with the same method I used, which admittedly was embarrassingly simple and could have been massively improved. But definitely taking advantage of stale orders in the market. Call it scalping or whatever. These profits are 100% due to fast pictures. And this isn't just my theory. I found a post from March 2010 on the well-known Green All Over blog. It featured a comment from a guy who knew Psychoff from a Turkish betting forum. He exposed exactly how Psychoff was doing it. He said that Psychoff got 7 different dishes to scan all the live football broadcasts all around Europe, plus a Dreambox receiver to decode the encrypted channels, to get the fastest possible TV pictures. He wasn't the master trader. He was a latency arbitrager. And Psychoff basically admitted this himself later on a Geeks Toy forum thread, writing, 3 to 4 years ago, a fast broadcast was everything and the key for success. So the foundation of his genius legacy, it wasn't an elite understanding of football. It was what I was doing in 2006, having a faster TV feed than the market. After that goodbye post in early 2010, Psychoff disappeared for years, apparently for legal reasons. But in 2016, now relocated to the UK, he reappeared on betting forums and on Twitter. And his strategy? The exact same as his 2009 blog. No trading education, just trying to attract mugs by flashing massive, cherry-picked green screens to make it seem like he's effortlessly making millions. If you look at his feed, you see huge single match wins. You see weekly and monthly P&Ls that look massive. He even posted a video showing £300,000 in profits covering the 2018 World Cup. You would think this guy is making millions upon millions. Let me tell you a secret. For any real pro seeing these cherry-picked green screens, it instantly raises massive red flags. Honestly, it's just pathetic. But of course, mugs love it. And that's exactly who he intended to impress. This brings me to one of my main rules. If you are legit, you know that most people online are faking it. So you don't do the same shit they do. If you really want to post your profits to prove a point, get them notarized. Unverified P&L screenshots are pathetic. End of story. In that same old Geeks Toy forum thread, Psychoff claimed, I've never tried to sell or advertise any product or service, and I don't think I'm going to do this in the future. But guess what? He then turned around and started selling courses for £3,500 and £5,000. He even offers a one-to-one mentorship for an absolutely absurd £40,000. He uses his whale persona to cash in on the very mugs he was baiting. And what happens when you buy these courses? Under one of his Twitter posts advertising a course, a user named John replied, "As someone who has done the course, be careful. The main strategy he teaches you has almost died. He knows this too. And the main thing that gives him an edge isn't something he gives you on the course. I paid £2,500, would never pay 5,000. Just putting it out there to offer a warning." This is absolutely remarkable. Do you know how rare it is for someone who attended a worthless guru course to actually admit it online? Usually, their ego just won't allow it. They'd rather come up with all kinds of psychological justifications before admitting they've been scammed. So when a former student actually swallows their pride to warn others, you know it's bad. So after a few years of selling courses and mentorships, in January 2025, Psychoff finally posts a premium charge statement with the lifetime summary from his Betfair account. This is it. The moment of truth. How much did the mighty whale make over the last 10 years? 10 million? 20 million? 30 million? What? Oh, what is that? Let's look closer. Again, this is not notarized, which is a joke. But honestly, I think he didn't fake this, because the profit is so embarrassingly low compared to the whale image he tries to project. He has a gross profit of £871,000, but after commission and Betfair premium charges, his net profit is around £570,000. He says this account is the one he opened after moving to the UK years ago. If you divide that net profit by a decade of trading, he's making maybe £50,000 a year. And this is me being generous, because that £50,000 a year average includes the legendary 2018 World Cup flex, where he showed around £300,000 from a 3-month period alone. So if you mentally remove that one giant spike, what are you left with? Not a whale, not a trading god, not some mystical football prophet reading the Matrix. You are left with a grinder, a pile of cherry-picked screenshots, and a reputation being stretched way beyond what the numbers justify. I have traded in nearly 100,000 markets and earned an average profit of roughly £10 per market. Actually, it's closer to £5 per market. Now think about this logically. This guy is grinding out £5 a market, making £50,000 a year, and he is charging his followers £40,000 for a one-to-one mentorship. How could a customer ever make that fee back? What exactly do they expect him to teach? His historical edge was fast pictures. You can't teach that. If he had a magical modern system and all his customers started using it, they would destroy his edge entirely. No mark who pays that fee will ever make back a fraction of it. Of course, Psychoff tries to protect his ego in the very same tweet. He claims this is just one of his accounts and he has so many other winning accounts that he lost count. I've pointed this out in another video, but there was a brilliant comment in a betting forum that sums his excuse up perfectly. Making out he's got loads of previous winning accounts, it's a bit like the kids that used to come back from the school holidays and tell you about the birds they shagged on holiday in Blackpool. It is a laughable excuse. First, you don't accidentally trade 94,000 markets on a burner account. He writes he hasn't used any bots. 94,000 markets of manual trading is massive. A massive grind. This guy was basically doing nothing else but football trading all day. I was trading full-time on Betfair and I only had 38,000 markets. Second, all the massive P&L screenshots he posted over the years has to be tied to this account. Why? Because Betfair has a dedicated fraud department that aggressively hunts down connected accounts so they can collect their 40 to 60% premium charge, or their expert fee nowadays. If he was officially posting screenshots from secondary accounts to thousands of followers, he would basically be waving a giant flag at Betfair saying, "Please connect my accounts and charge me." It's absolute nonsense. Oh, and by the way, guys, I think we can just casually neglect his editing mistakes over the years, right? Oops, no thousands delimiter. Oops, the numbers don't match. Seems like his AI image generator messed it up. Oops, Bayern Music is suddenly the away team. In one market they are home, in the next they are away. Guys, if that happened to me, I'd panic and be sprinting to the notary to prove that the profits are indeed legit. And I only have the reputation of this small YouTube channel to defend. I'm not risking losing sales of a £40,000 mentorship. By the way, if Psychoff is selling his mentorship for £40,000, my price would be £500,000. I mean, what the fuck? How do these gullible mugs even have the money to pay £40,000 in the first place? But Psychoff doesn't care. Usually, I classify this as hardcore evidence of manipulation. But here, it's just funny. It shows how incredibly lazy this grift has become. He knows people scrolling on Twitter are so blinded by the whale persona that they just see a flash of green and he'd like. He doesn't even need to be good at Photoshop anymore, because when you are selling a fantasy, facts and commas just don't matter. But wait, it gets so much better. Psychoff hasn't flashed huge profits from single matches for many years, but recently he started posting screenshots that look remarkably like those fast picture profits from his old blog. And suddenly he's trying to sell a data feed called Psychoff Radar for up to £12,000 a year. People were skeptical. Why pay that when you can get sports APIs for £30? That led to an absolutely mind-blowing exchange on Twitter. A user named Crunchy calls him out. If you had a genuine edge, you would keep it quiet, wouldn't you? So you don't have one anymore. Hence you are selling this crap to the public for obscene amounts of money. Then John chimes in. Yes, the exact same John from earlier, the former student who warned everyone about the £5,000 course. He comments, the data costs over £100,000 per year and comes from Stats Perform. My guess is he's looking to reduce the cost by getting other people to sign up. And Psychoff actually agrees. He replies, it's so good to see that there are people who understand what Psychoff Radar actually is. And for the record, its real value is, as I've said before, well over £100,000. What the fuck? How can you be that dumb to admit that? Let's do the math here. We just established from his own lifetime summary that he makes roughly £50,000 a year in net profit from trading. But he just admitted that his data feed costs over £100,000 a year. £50,000 minus £100,000. Assuming that data feed economics are accurate, his current operation is running at a massive net loss. Now you might be asking, why would anyone do that? Here's where you have to understand his true business model. With this extremely expensive professional data feed, he's basically doing exactly what he was doing with his satellite dishes back in 2009. Let me be absolutely clear about something. Having the fastest feed in the world is a real edge. There's no debate about that. You don't need to be a football genius to make money with it. I proved that to you in my last video. If you have a feed that is a few seconds faster than the market, especially in minor football leagues, you can consistently snipe tiny, guaranteed profits before anyone else reacts. The catch? The profits per trade aren't huge. To make a living off an edge like that, you have to sit there and relentlessly grind it out. And that is exactly what he's doing, which perfectly explains his 94,000 manually traded markets. So here's the reality of the situation. He trades profitably on a gross level, grabbing those small latency-based wins. However, on a net level, he is losing money because of that massive £100,000 annual data overhead. So how does he survive? By using those gross trading profits to generate the ultimate marketing material. He flashes those cherry-picked green screens to lure in the mugs. All he has to do is just sell 2 or 3 of his £40,000 mentorships a year, and suddenly his entire operation is massively profitable. His trading doesn't fund his lifestyle anymore. His followers do. This is exactly what I meant in my last video. Never trust screenshots without context. Even if a screenshot isn't fake, it can be incredibly misleading. So, is Psychoff fake or legit? Let's be brutally honest. He is legit only in the sense that he isn't a complete imposter who has never placed a successful trade. As I always say on this channel, I generally dismiss anything unverified. But to my eye, his early profits looked very plausible, simply given the massive technical edge he had with those satellite dishes. He might have inflated those numbers, sure, but it doesn't really matter for our analysis. He exploited a real edge and was significantly profitable back in the day. We have to give him that. But the Psychoff of today, the multimillionaire whale persona, it is a complete and utter mirage. He has transformed into the exact type of snake oil salesman he once swore he'd never become. Think about what we've just uncovered. This is a guy operating a trading model that is fundamentally a net loser because of his £100,000 data feed costs. He is flashing cherry-picked, out-of-context green screens purely to keep up appearances. Why? Because his real business isn't trading football anymore. His real business is you. He is using this fake, inflated reputation to lure gullible mugs into his trap. He is using these artificially generated gross profits to convince people to pay £5,000 for dead strategies and an extortionate £40,000 for a mentorship that will never ever make them a return on investment. He isn't a trading god reading the matrix of a football match. He is a guy desperately trying to fund his £100,000 operating costs and his lifestyle off the backs of his followers. He might not be a 100% fake trader, but his entire online persona is a relentless, shameless grift. Don't feed the whale, don't buy the data feed, and whatever you do not buy that mentorship. Until next time.
Guru Busters!